Hi again, guys, and welcome to another tank review. Finally doing an actual tank review of this thing. This is the Panzer 3K. I did go over it sort of in my Tanks That Need Some Love video, the 2-hour long massive fucking thing that I used as a follow-up to the Chrysler K. But since I have now 3-marked this thing, I thought it was about time that I did an actual review of it. Now, this tank is a tier 5 premium, but it's not really what you would think as a decent one. And I'm gonna show you why. For a start, your hull armor, your armor all round is garbage. You have none. You've got 50mm at the front, here and here. This, I believe, is 30mm, and then I think this part here with little hatches is something like 20. And then at the back, you've got 50, but only along here. That's the only part that's 50. On the sides, you've got 30 all around, so obviously not including the tracks. Thank you, Steam, for pinging while I'm recording, but that's okay. On the turret, we've got 50 on the front, here and here, and then the gun mantle is a tiny bit more, but not really anything worth talking about. The sides are 30, again, not particularly special. The rear is 30, so that's the turret. And the cupola is actually the strongest part of the tank. Apart from the tiny little rim there that actually connects to the hatch itself, the cupola, these massive thick parts here and here that go all the way around, those are 90mm thick. Yeah, I know, on a tank where every other part is just paper thin, in terms of effectiveness, the cupola is the most effective. I know, it's pretty silly. It has 600 hit points, which is something that's going for it, because if you're in the same tier match, as long as you don't run into any derp guns, then you can actually take a couple of hits, which is nice. The view range isn't too bad. It's 350 meters base view range, which does allow you to get to the spotting cap if, and this is quite a big if you run food, optics, vents, and then you have to have a crew that has brothers in arms, recon, and situational awareness. And that'll get you to the 445 meter spotting range cap. Alright, moving on to more stats. We've got the gun. It's a 75mm gun. It's basically the gun from the Panzer 4D, the tier 4 German medium tank, and it is garbage. Now, the base dispersion, the dispersion at 100 meters is 0.38, which, you would say that's kind of okay for a tier 5 with a 75mm, and the aiming time is 2.2 to 2.3 seconds, which is pretty average. So you think, okay, nothing special there. But then you look at the soft stats. It's 0.35 dispersion when moving or turning the tank. And turning the turret is something like 0.17. And then you've got the average 2 for the soft stats if the gun's broken, and after firing it's about the same. It's something like 2, or I can't quite remember those two off the top of my head, because generally you're not going to be fighting with a broken gun. And this thing's accuracy is just not good. You'll see when I'm trying to shoot other tanks in this match that I have to take a long time to aim just to even have a chance of hitting them. And this is not helped by the penetration values. Like I said, it's the same 75mm that's on the Panzer 4D at tier 4, so your standard ammo is 103mm of pen. And the premium is 139. Now this coupled with the awful soft stats means that really, if you're going to do anything at all, especially 3 marking like I've managed to do, this replay was actually taken during the stream that I got the 3rd mark on. a few matches before I got the third mark itself, and you'll see when it needs it. It needs to fire premium if it's going to have a chance of penning anything with any armor whatsoever. Like even a small thickness of armor, this needs to really aim, and even then you have to get lucky to hit anything, even with the premium ammo. And the main reason for it is I would be kind of okay with the 103mm of pen, because I do play the M4 improved, so get the third mark on that at the moment. But the problem is the shell velocity, both on the M4 improved and this, is awful. It really is. So hitting anything with any degree of accuracy not only requires quite a lot of patience to let the tank aim, but you also have to think about, especially if something is moving, you have to think, okay, how far am I going to lead this and still pen? And that's not easy in this tank. So we're going to just get straight into this match now. This is a tier 7 match on Cliff. These days, this is the absolute worst kind of matchmaking this thing will see, but previously it could have seen a lot worse. And of course, these days the RT changes do make it so then you don't get one shot from full health, which would happen quite a lot with tier 7 RT aiming at you, and even some tier 5 and 6 RTs depending on the gun that they had. Now, speaking of getting one shot, well, or at least close to it, the guns that you see around tier 5 and 6 can really do a lot of damage, particularly derp guns. You'll see it on when you're facing Panzer 4Hs that have the 105mm derp. You'll see it when you're fighting M4 Shermans with the 105 derp, or KV1s, KV1Ss that have the 122mm derp gun. This thing gets penned with HE from those things pretty damn easily. Now, that over there is a KV-13. We actually straight up cannot pen him frontally. Not the turret, not the hull. There's nowhere we can actually pen frontally on that thing, even with premium. Apart from maybe the lower plate if we're lucky. But, you know, hitting that is the problem. So, one thing I did actually miss was the mobility. This thing has awful mobility for a medium tank. Even a tier 5, top speed of 40 kilometers an hour, and that would be kind of alright, I guess. Nothing special, nothing awful. But the problem is that it's combined with bad ground resistance. Well, not bad ground resistance, it's just mediocre ones. But it's the power to weight that really screws this tank over. It's really bad power to weight. It's heavy tank level power to weight. It's about 12 horsepower per ton, which is simply garbage on anything, especially something with low pen, because generally you have to get the sides or rear of things to be effective. And this tank just can't do that. Anyway, we've taken our first hit of this match from a T-43. He didn't really have to do very much. Meanwhile, this SP1C apparently has a death wish, because, well, there you go. At that range, there wasn't really a huge chance that I would miss. Because the SP1C is, well, it's small, it's not at that range. And now we get to shoot at a nice big flat side of a Churchill for a couple of shots. Now, I'm going to say ahead of time, I'm not really going to bother putting up the stats in an end plate for this match. I'll tell you right now that this match did end up losing me credits, as will most matches, if you intend to 3-mark this thing, or do anything at all, because you'll need to load all your premium ammo if you're gonna do anything of use. Anyway, moving forward up over this ridge to try and get a shot on this STRV that's hiding in the corner over there. Now I will say one thing, it does have 10 degrees of gun depression, this tank, so it's at least flexible on ridgelines. But just don't count on the armor bouncing anything, because it just really won't. So we do get a shot into him. It turns out he's hiding behind the rock there, but we do get a second hit right there. Oh yeah, you'll also find that this gun likes to low roll a lot. It's a 110 alpha gun, but you'll find it low rolls for like 90-ish, quite a lot. Sometimes dead on 100, well, dead around 100 sometimes. And I've actually quite often gotten rolls as low as like 80, which is really, really, really bad. Like, well, not quite 80, but it's like 85. It does like to low roll this gun, and you see now that hitting anything that's on the move, like things like Cromwell's, are a pain in the dick with this thing. Like an absolute pain in the dick if they're on the move. Anyway, now we're going after this T-43. We do have a KV-2 moving in. Hopefully he'll be able to help us. Now T-43 has seen the KV-2, so he's backing off a little bit. We do still have to be cautious, because that is a tier 7, and we do actually struggle to pen T-43s frontally. Because, you know, bad pen, and bad accuracy, bad aim time, you get the picture. Hitting it in the side though, like this, well, or if the gun would behave, like that, you know, it's fine. But, also getting lucky shots like that. Also, gotta love being shot at by RT when there's a KV-2 right next to you. Meanwhile, we do actually spot, that was actually our spotting, the flat panzer there, and you will rely on moments like this, because that's really the only thing that this is good for. And you'll notice down below that 343 spotting plus 257 equals 600. So, yeah, we did get all of the health of the Jagdpanzer in terms of spotting. And of course we do get shot by the RT again, because, you know, you gotta shoot the bottom tier tank that's got bad pen, bad mobility, bad armor, and bad gun handling, instead of a KV-2, you know. But you'll notice, he's not very well angled, but he's still able to bounce us pretty effectively. Like that, for a lot of other tanks, that would pen. Like, with your normal 75mm guns, it would have penned. That one did, because he was pretty much flat, and then we auto-aim and finish him off. Now there's just a T-34 in the artillery. We got a really lucky shot there, and it did set him on fire, so that was pretty tasty, and it got us the kill. And now it's just the artillery. Let's see if we can get some payback on him. Because it's one thing that I've had happen to me quite a lot in this thing, it's artillery focus. Because, you know, it's not a common sight to see one of these things. And from what I've told you, you'll probably understand why. And we do get a second shot in here, but that's going to be all from him, and it's going to be either the Panzer T-25 or the Cromwell that cleans him up. And it is indeed the Cromwell who gets the kill. So the Panzer 3K, possibly the worst premium tank in the game at the moment, at least at tier 5. Is it worse than the Matilda 4 and the Matilda Black Prince? Quite possibly, yes. While the Matilda 4 has worse pen than this thing, it at least has okay-ish gun handling, it has okay-ish rate of fire, and its armor can at least bounce some same, if not lower tier tanks. It can definitely bounce this gun without too much trouble. Even with premium, it can actually be quite trollish for this gun. Then there's the Matilda Black Prince, which, while that thing is horrendously slow and the turret armor is garbage, it at least has a decent enough gun. If it can be a little derpy at times, it's got a good rate of fire, and it's got decent pen. Whereas this, also those two both have preferential matchmaking. This just doesn't. So this thing gets absolutely shafted quite a lot of the time. So I will say the best, if you're gonna plan on getting this thing to 3 market, you do really have to hope for matches where you get things like Malinovka encounter and you start on east spawn and you go down to e7 and go into the bush there and just wank off while you spot things, because that's pretty much the best use for this tank, and it's where I got the most progress for third marks in this tank. Though this match wasn't too bad. I will say, for those who are interested in the requirements for this tank for third marks, you want to be getting around 1.5 to 1.6k combined for any progress whatsoever in terms of your third mark. You'll find that getting to the second mark is really, really quick. It took me about 70, 80 matches, which for me isn't that bad. I'm not a hugely special player, but I managed to get to there without, the second mark without a whole amount of trouble. The third mark is where it's difficult, because doing that 1.5k even combined is really, really difficult in this tank, because you do have to play really aggressive at times to even get any spotting, even get any damage. It's, yeah, you have to be aggressive in this tank to do anything useful towards third mark. So, should you buy this tank if it pops up again? Well, if you're a masochist like I am, then when it comes to third marks, then sure, it'll be pretty cheap. So why not? It's another third mark that you could do. It's another thing you can do in the game. So I guess it'll extend the lifetime of the game for you. If you're just a normal player who wants a crew trainer, no, fuck no. Buy the Panzer T25 instead. It's a way better tank, despite still being pretty bad because it's got bad view range, bad turret traverse, and bad tank traverse, and kind of, well, the gun can be a little derpy on that thing, but it's still a better gun than on this. And it's got better armor than on this. But, what can you do? This thing is just trash. And I'd actually go as far to say that the Panzer IV Hydro is way better than this thing, purely down to the gun handling and the pen, because that's just what ruins this one, honestly. And actually the Panzer IV Hydro has better mobility than this thing. I know, surprising, right? But still, don't buy this thing. Not unless you really want something to 3 mark that's, proof that you're willing to go through fucking anything. Because this is fucking hell on earth, 3 marking this thing. Anyway, guys, that's all for this one. I am so glad I got this thing 3 marked, because now I don't have to play it anymore. So, hope you enjoyed this little, review. Don't buy this thing. Peace out.